Let's look at injuries across the NBA. 30 teams, maybe 30 minutes, but at least one, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and you have become pathetic beyond comprehension, AP, and the woke death will soon visit you. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. You can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Double bang, yeah. Because you know what's really sexy? Double banging, number one, most sexy thing ever. Making the playoffs in fantasy is also pretty attractive. I know that all the women that I've ever met, first question, name, how old are you, how'd you get in my bedroom, but also, did you make the fantasy playoffs? Top 4 questions any woman asks. And for the girls, well, that's the number one thing the guys want to know as well. How did you go? Did you slay the fantasy playoffs? Because, you know, that's what it's about. Let's talk injuries. I don't want to, but we have to because it's important. And again, I know that you might feel persecuted by the amount of injuries your team has copped, but as a general rule, injuries are significantly down this season. I believe, from doing this for 4,000 plus shows, that we have, especially doing these injury shows, there's just been way fewer injuries than there has been in the past. Let's start it off. Let's go to Atlanta. Trae Young, dealing with that finger problem. We've got him coming back around the beginning of April. Whether that is what happens or not, I don't know. Does he come back at all this regular season? Also, I don't know. For most of us, fantasy season will be over by then. Onyeka Okongwu's toe, probably another week or so. Really hard to hold that unless you have those open ILs, because I don't think he's coming back into the starting role, which I think he would have had he not suffered this toe injury. The all-conquering Boston Celtics. There's a couple of injuries there, but nothing that's significant. Kristaps Porzingis missed last game with a quad issue. He's going to miss games down the stretch. They're being overly cautious. And honestly, this Celtics team, everyone's going to be sitting for this team down the stretch. They are so far ahead of everybody. They are putting up historic type numbers in terms of domination. And they've already started to do this through the season. They are going to sit players a lot. Porzingis and Horford, the main ones, but you're going to see Tatum sit games. You're going to see Brown sit games. White sits games. Holiday sits games. It's going to happen. Neemias Queta hurt his knee, maybe a week, but that could be longer. Obviously, he's not really in the plans now as the 4th string center. For the Nets, 5-game week. Look, Cam Thomas is out Monday. Pretty sure he won't play on Tuesday. Once you get the injury designation change, it's never a good thing. It went from ankle sprain to mid-foot sprain. Would not be shocked if Thomas is out all week, honestly. And just quietly, and if you're a Cam Thomas fan, don't listen, they look better without him. So I don't know when he's back. It's always the perils of planning everything around a 5-game week, is that guys might not be there for 5 games. Speaking of not there for 5 games, Ben Simmons, who the timeline of this is insane. Like, it made no sense. He hurt his leg last Saturday, like 9 days ago. They had a Monday, Tuesday back-to-back. He played the Monday instead of sitting out Monday and playing Tuesday. And then he sat out Tuesday, ostensibly for rest on a back-to-back, and hasn't played since. And the injury's gone from leg soreness to knee issue, and now it's back to being his back. You are very obviously dropping Ben Simmons.
Get that garbage out of here!
And that means that Dennis Schroeder, his value's up. Dennis Smith Jr., his value is up as well. You got to have him at this point with both of these guys on the shelf, and I think they'll be on the shelf for at least the first 2 games of this week. Now, we move on to the team that I just can't tell you anything about because they don't even know what they're doing. The Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball, ankle injury. I've got their 11th of March, but I couldn't tell you. I got no idea. What's actually wrong with him? No idea. Ankle soreness? Cool. No idea. Absolutely none. Can't explain it to you. I don't know whether it makes... This is what's always tough about... There's always something that happens in fantasy season where we go, I don't know. And it's felt obvious for a long time. The ball won't come back, but you never want to be like, I'm going to drop LaMelo Ball, and then he's going to come back and put up top 10 numbers. We're getting to that stage, you just got to cut if you need to, because there's nothing clear happening here whatsoever. And now, Big Dick Nick is joining the group of what happens to him, because he missed last game with a mysterious leg injury. I've got him questionable for the next one, but I don't know. I don't know whether he returns or not. I don't know what the injury is. Mark Williams, I'm just going to guess he's not coming back because they have given us absolutely nothing on that. And Cody Martin and Seth Curry missed the last game with ankle injuries. Wouldn't expect those two older players / injury-prone players to return super quick. So Vasily Micic and Grant Williams replacing Nick Richards have that short-term appeal. But if anything happened on this team, any sort of timeline for any injury occurred, you wouldn't shock me because this is what they do, and it is frustrating. And they are, yes, I know people doubt this, they are by far the absolute worst team in the NBA at reporting injuries. Your Chicago Bulls, the rabbit hunter Alex Caruso, questionable for today with a hamstring. That further boosts Andre Drummond and Ayo Dosunmu. And then for those deeper league legends, you got Onuralp Batim, who's in there as well, who's now getting rotation minutes. We are getting an absolute flurry at the moment, by the way, of 10-day contracts, two-way contracts being converted, and then new two-ways being signed. We got our second M Gay in the league today. Again, Mamadou Gay, this one, not Muhammad Gay. Mamadou Gay signed a two-way with the Raptors. And unfortunately, guys, we'll get to it later. We'll get to it later. Torrey Craig, at least a week or so, maybe 2 weeks more with that knee. Obviously, we're not rostering him, and they still have no power forwards on the squad. The Cleveland Cavaliers, Don Mitchell has missed the last couple with a knee issue. He's barely played since the All-Star break. Him being out means that guys like Isaac Okoro and Sam Merrill jump up, but Merrill probably needs both LeVert and Mitchell to be out, and that has happened the last two games. LeVert's dealing with a shoulder problem, but obviously Merrill was out of the rotation when those guys played. LeVert was looking like an ad, and now he's hurt, so you don't. And then Mitchell being out helps Mobley and helps Garland. Tristan Thompson's suspension is coming to an end, but hopefully he doesn't see the court when he returns. The Mavericks, no injuries at all. None. Apart from our fantasy team's hopes who have Daniel Gafford. Let's talk about the Denver Nuggets. Both Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Braxton Key missed the last game for personal reasons. I'm just going to label them questionable for the next one. If KCP is out, you get more for Brown, you get more for Jackson sometimes, you get more for Justin Holiday, and no one really becomes a fantasy option. The Pistons, the only injured guy at the moment there is Quentin Grimes. That's more of a management thing with his knee. And last game, we saw the bench get extended minutes with the diseased scrotum of Evan Fournier playing a lot more minutes and Marcus Sasser returning. Grimes obviously is not a 12 or 14 team league guy and might have some value in those formats at some point, but it's going to require other guys in front of him sitting. The Warriors don't play until Wednesday. We haven't heard anything about Andrew Wiggins, so I'm going to assume that he doesn't play in that game. I'd say it's relatively safe to assume that Wiggins does not play this week, and I don't know why in the space of 20 seconds I just pronounced assume and assume differently. I don't know. I'm a confused man. Brandon Podziemski missed the last couple of games with a knee problem. Steve Kerr did say after that drubbing against the Celtics that he would be back for Wednesday, but you know what? Coaches lie. So at this point, I'm just going to say that Podziemski's back for Wednesday. Doesn't mean you need to roster him, but it does appear, again, what can I do? Ignore the coach? In some cases, yes. But it's really hard to do that on a regular basis. But it sounds like Podziemski will be back for the game on Wednesday. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes you need that opportunity to get things off your chest, big or small. Things can build up. And sometimes even the smallest thing that can set you off because you've let other things sort of build up. So what is it? Are you frustrated by? Are you frustrated by all bench lineups by a certain coach in Detroit? Are you frustrated by injury reporting for your favorite team, the Charlotte Hornets? Well, get it off your chest, and getting it off your chest to an unbiased person like a therapist can be a great way of helping you move on from those things in life. And again, it sounds trivial, but who cares? Trivial things can be important because also understanding how to deal with smaller things gives you the skills and the ability to cope when things get more serious and being able to deal with those things as well. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than what's happening with our favorite sports team, but it is important to get those things off your chest every once in a while. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba to get 10% off your first month. It is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Let's go through to the next one. It is your Houston Rockets, and the only injury there is Tari lost season with that benign growth on his leg. He's having surgery, out for the season. They took a long time to get to this diagnosis. Hopefully, you guys dropped him months ago. Hopefully. And I think he's going to be healthy and ready for next season, but I don't know what that role is going to be because Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, Dylan Brooks, all the guys blocking Eason still remain on the team. So it might be just another case of Eason being in a smaller role than maybe we would hope. As for who benefits with Eason out, he's been out, guys. Look, literally nothing changes with this rotation. It is the same as it has been the whole way through. Indiana, Dougie McDirt is dealing with that calf problem, maybe 1 or 2 more games, but he's old. They don't really need him as a huge part of things, even though they're not playing well. Wouldn't say he's the reason why they're not. Don't worry about that too much. And then Benny Shepherd has an illness. With him out, you're able to give some of those more minutes to Timothy John McConnell in the last one. Shepherd was sort of carving out a mini Buddy Hield, a half Buddy Hield maybe. A half Buddy. Yeah, that sounds rude. But we don't need to worry too much about that. For the Clippers, it is just Russell Westbrook with a fractured hand. I've got him back around the 5th of April. 4 weeks is a standard recovery time for a hand injury. With him out, Bones Highland gets all of the backup point guard minutes, and you don't need to care about that in fantasy. And there are extra shot attempts there for Storm and Norman Powell. For the Lakers, I could tell you that LeBron James is questionable and Anthony Davis is probable, but I'd tell you that every single game. Are they real injuries? Yeah, sort of, but also not worth me talking about here. Jared Vanderbilt, maybe. Look, I don't know. We haven't had an update on him for a while. It looked like there was a risk that he'd be out for the season. And then they came out and said, oh, yeah, maybe it's a couple of weeks. But I still don't actually believe them. I don't know why I don't believe them that he's coming back. I don't know that he is. Anyway, we're not holding on to him for fantasy. I think we've got at least another 2 weeks there. About another week for the Crucifix Christian Wood. And we haven't had any updates whatsoever on 5-game legend Gabe Vincent, who I thought could be a pretty good signing for this team and has not been healthy at all. Maybe he's back in a couple of weeks as well, but we've heard nothing. And then Colin Castleton dealing with a wrist problem, maybe, or wrist fracture. Maybe he's back in April as well. So, 3 of those guys, Vanderbilt, Wood, and Vincent, they could be rotation guys. And hopefully they would take those minutes away from Cam Reddish, where I don't know why Pockets loves him so much, but he does. Memphis. Cool. How many of these are real? No idea. Jaren Jackson, quad injury, missed the 2 games against the Blazers and is doubtful again. Is this the beginning of the end? I don't think so, but it's the beginning of the... Well, I say it's the beginning of the nonsense. It's the continuation of the nonsense. This happens all the time for this team. You know who they are. The Memphis question marks. It's really tough. Do I trust Lamar Stevens? No. Do I trust Santi Aldama? No. Do I trust Trey Jemison? No. Do I trust anybody on this team? Not really. I think Jaren will come back, but man, this is why we needed to move on as soon as Bane was done. I've put Desmond Bane and Marcus Smart with return dates at the end of March. I will tell you now again, 2% chance in my mind of them playing this season. Everything that they have worded about these guys suggests that they are not playing, but they are giving themselves outs to either fool their fan base or to not run awry of the NBA's injury reporting /tanking /PPP, whatever it is. Right? They're not playing. Maybe they are. They're not. Maybe they're not. Zoe Williams dealing with a back injury. Missed the last couple. Derrick Rose with a back injury. Missed the last couple. Scottie Pippen with a back injury. Missed the last couple. I don't know how severe Williams and Rose are. I would suggest, I've got the 6th of March for both Williams and Rose because we haven't had an update. I would say that there is a large chance that Rose is done. Just because it's Derrick Rose. Knees, ankles, backs, why? Zaire, I think, will come back, but we don't need to trust that. And then Pippen dealing with that bulging disc. Probably the 20th of March is a date there, but yeah, he's not going to be an impact guy, I don't think either. Unfortunately for him. For Miami, Tyler Hero had a knee hyperextension, I think it was. Not the weekend that just passed, but the one before. He said, I'm all right, I'll be all right for Monday. A week later, and nothing. Yep, hasn't played. Because, again, I'm not sure if you've heard this before, but players lie about their injuries all the time. It's all consistent lying every single time. So, yeah, I don't know when Hero's coming back. It's just, yeah. I probably need to do a better job of this myself, but in terms of projecting and things like that. But guys come out, Tyler Hero is questionable. And because it's hard because we get the official injury designation. I need to figure out a way to do this on Basketball Monster as well. But the official injury designation might say questionable. But I'm like, I should just be sitting here. No, this is 2 weeks. I don't care. It's 2 weeks. And let's adjust the projections accordingly. But then the official thing comes in and you go, okay, I've got to list him questionable. But there's no way that he's questionable. So I don't know when Hero's coming back. I'd say there's another week here, but I don't know. Kevin Love, heel. Missed the last couple. It doesn't matter that much for us. And then Josh Richardson with a shoulder, maybe a week or so. I wouldn't be shocked if that pushes out another 2 or so after that. For the Milwaukee Bucks, the big fella Giannis Antetokounmpo questionable today for an Achilles soreness issue. He's been popping up on the Anthony Davis, LeBron James plan of every single game there's a probable or questionable tag. The questionable is obviously different to the probable, so we'll just watch that one. I don't think there's anything to worry about there. But with him out and with Middleton out, I would expect that you get a little bit more out of Bob Portis. As for Middleton, a rather innocuous ankle sprain has now cost him a month. I don't think he's coming back for the next 2 games. Maybe he's later this week, but Glenn Rivers, MD, did not give us a proper diagnosis. We mustn't have had the correct insurance coverage to get that diagnosis. Hey, American healthcare joke. All right. I don't know when Middleton is playing. At this point, if you're in the playoffs, you don't believe that he's coming back, and you honestly, you might need to drop, because now that he's been out this long, what's the ramp-up going to be? Probably bad, yeah? Chris Livingston dealing with a groin, cool. While Marjon Beauchamp with a foot injury. These guys are not part of Doc's rotation, so it doesn't matter that much for us here. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they're on a back-to-back. I thought that Kyle Anderson would be in somewhat of a level of doubt in terms of playing on Monday. He is questionable for Monday. That means that Naz Reid gets more run there, but Anderson will play the next one after that, I'm guessing. Jordan McLaughlin's ill. Josh Minott is ill. Josh Minott, one of my favorite long-term dynasty stashes, but my second favorite dynasty stash on this team, because the number one is Leonard Miller. The other one there is Jalen Clark, who hasn't played this season. My initial expectation was he might be back around this week, but I've heard absolutely nothing, so I don't think that will be the case. I've pushed him out another week or so. For the oft-injured New Orleans Pelicans, there's only one bloke on that injury report. It's Dyson Daniels, who we're looking at an April return from meniscus injury. With him out, it's Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado, and Najee Marshall, who have picked up his 21 or 22 minutes a night. And of course, the team that is injured through no fault of anything to do with any injuries or any coaching or any overuse, none. It's all just luck. It's all random that their best 4 players are all out at the same time. Best 4? Maybe, probably. I don't know what to make of the Jalen Brunson injury. At this point, I am just listing him doubtful for their game on Tuesday. We don't have an update, although I'm just going to go and check to find out whether we do have an update or not. No, we do not. They said knee soreness originally, now it's knee contusion. There was some thought of a nerve knock that caused some deadness in the leg. I just really don't think that he's going to play on Tuesday. I want him to. He's on my Locked On Fantasy Basketball points team, and I need him in the playoffs, but I'm really doubting that he's going to play all the games this week. I don't think OG Anunoby's back this week, maybe the week after. Julius Randle, no real clarity on his return. I've got a week or maybe 2 more weeks for him. And then Mitch Robinson, probably the end of the month for those guys to return. I could have put Isaiah Hartenstein on this list. He is playing, though, obviously, but he is clearly still limited by the Achilles problem that's been limiting him for 2 years. With Brunson out, the obvious add at the moment is Juice McBride. The option that Thibodeau will have eventually will be to play Shake Milton there, but I think that he will like McBride more because McBride defends and Milton does not. And Milton's good in theory, but I think Juice might actually be a better player at this point. For the Thunder, they've had a remarkable run. Some may say they've been kissed on the dick in terms of their injury luck this season. The only guy out at the moment is Pig Williams, who is dealing with a knee problem. With him out, they just go with Biyombo, they go with Kenrich Williams, so it does not really matter that much. The Orlando Magic, they were the team last season that would have like 10 injuries at a time. They have none. They are completely clean of injuries, which is great. Love that for them. Fantastic. It's hopefully going to stay that way. We just don't know that it will. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Don't know why I said it that way, but that's fine because you can still get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 if your bet wins. So you can bet on all of your favorite NBA players and NBA teams. They've got their quick bets, their live same-game parlays, player props, exclusive player props as well, and futures. Futures is what I'm really interested in at this point because we are like 6 weeks away from the end of the season. So we're talking MVP. Is it Jokic or Shea? We're talking Rookie of the Year. Is it Wemby or, come on, is it Defensive Player of the Year? Is it Gobert or Wemby? By the way, I found one of the craziest takes ever. And maybe I shouldn't talk about it in a FanDuel ad, but there was a guy who was telling me that Domantas Sabonis was a better defender than Wemby. So maybe you could pick the odds on Domantas Sabonis for Defensive Player of the Year and see how far you get with that one. Anyway, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, after the Orlando Magic, good in terms of injuries. This team's not so good because two of their starters are out. It is the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid, I know people are getting real frothy. They're really Danish backhandering, Turkish gripping, rusty tromboning. The news about Embiid, that he's 100% in the weight room. Cool. You know what that means? Not really that much, I don't think. It means that he's lifting some weights, cool, but does it mean that he is defying medical miracles for a 300-pound, 7'2" man with persistent knee problems, that he's going to return quicker than 4 or 5 weeks from a knee meniscus surgery? Absolutely not. It just means that it's positive propaganda, and that's cool. Teams can do that. Embiid can do that. It puts fear into other teams, all that sort of stuff. I do think Embiid will come back before the end of the regular season in some capacity, but he also might not. At the moment, I've still got the end of March as his return, and I think we stick with that. As for the wave pool, DeAnthony Melton, no idea. At the moment, I'm listing him out until about the 12th of March, but that could extend until April. It could be back in a week. They just haven't told us. But a flare-up of a back problem, which has now lasted since like the beginning of January, I wouldn't have too much faith in him returning, so that is a very clear drop.
Get that garbage out of here!
And I just fear that Bob Covington's season might be over. No updates whatsoever. Persistent, nebulous knee soreness/inflammation. I think that he might be rooted. The Suns, we got the diagnoses or a timeline on Devin Booker. 7 to 10 days. Let's push that to 10. That puts him around that 14th of March return. And with him out, Eric Gordon back on the stream list, boys. And so is the Basmati man, Royce O'Neal. Unfortunately, Bol was not able to maintain his 22 minutes a night. And shout out to the people again telling me that he is Victor Wembanyama. Josh Okogie was a late scratch last game with a hip injury. He doesn't matter for fantasy. Damian Lee hasn't played this season. And Nasir Little has a knee problem as well. And he also does not matter for fantasy. Let's talk about another team that we can't trust at all with an injury report. And DeAndre Ayton's listed as questionable with his hand problem. That's good news because he missed the last couple. But is he really going to play? I think that we are beginning the beginning of the end for the Blazers in terms of the random ins and outs. And Mr. March allergy Jerami Grant has popped up. And what absolute clockwork that was to see Grant leave a game in March with a quad injury and then be listed doubtful with a quad injury for the next one. Just waiting for the knee soreness to pop up for Grant, who has played what? Can someone look this up for me? How many games has Jerami Grant played in April and March over the last 4 seasons, is it? How many play in Detroit? 3 or 2 in Detroit? And this is his second in Portland? Love to know. It's got to be less than 20 over 4 years. Has to be. So, Jabari Walker, probably want to add him. Tamani Kamara, deeper league stuff. Walker's just a way better per-minute player in my mind. Reith, like you can have him while Ayton is out, but I don't know whether Ayton's out. Malcolm Brogdon, I really, really, really doubt that he's going to have any impact this season. I don't think he's coming back this week. We haven't had really any update to say that, he's had something done. Maybe next week for his elbow. The one that I think will come back this week is Sterling Henderson, but all they've told us was he wouldn't be there on the road trip. That's got one more game left. So Scoot might be back on the 6th of March and then hopefully get some big minutes. And then Matisse Thybulle's hip has now flared up. So he's questionable. So that just means we're going to get more of this Chris Murray. We're going to get games where Justin Manea plays. We're going to get a lot of Tamani Kamara, Jabari Walker. That we're fully into nonsense time for the Blazers. And Walker, outside of Scoot, Walker probably is the guy that I'm most interested in at this point. For the Kings, De'Aaron Fox still listed questionable. It seems like his return is coming soon, but also he was questionable the last 2 games that didn't play. They started Davion Mitchell in one and Keon Ellis in the other, but we want nothing to do with either of those guys. And then Sasha Vezenkov out until about the middle or end of March. 21st I've got there as a return for him. That doesn't matter that much either. For the Spurs, Bubble Champagne missed the last game with an ankle problem. They started Malachi Branham and he was great. I do not trust Malachi Branham to do that. He's a dart throw stream guy in like 14 teamers, but nothing super exciting about that we need to action, I don't think. For the Toronto Raptors, we did get word that Jakob Poeltl will miss their next game with a finger issue, dislocated finger. I think that given where they are at the moment in the standings, I think that Poeltl might miss a couple here. I don't know. There's no fracture, but they haven't given us anything more to say outside that he's out the next game. Bruce Brown's knee inflammation, he's out the next game as well. Always important to note, like, what does Pirtle have to prove for this team? Not a lot. Brown is not going to be on this team next season, so why would they need to play him? Not saying he doesn't have a sore knee, but he doesn't look right at all. There's no need for them to rush him back. And then Scottie Barnes' hand, I don't think he's coming back this season either. So that means they are going to, it looks like, start Kelly Olynyk, must roster player. They're going to start Ochai Agbaji. I don't believe he's a must roster player, but you can roster him. He put up 1 million shots last game. They didn't go in, which is par for the course for Agbaji. He did have some nice rebounds and blocks. That's absolutely okay if you think he's an ad. I just think that I've seen enough of this that at some point that we'll get a lot more dick. And yeah, that's not going to mean Agbaji plays 30 odd night. I still think they're going to give us more dick anyway because Brown is now out. And I'm not sure how long Brown will be silent, but I think they might pull that out a little bit just so they can show us a little bit more of what Dick has to offer. The other thing is, I said they signed Mahamadou Gaye to a two-way, and that meant that our short king, 2'3" legend Marquise Noel, was waived. Unfortunately for him, he'd been dealing with a hamstring, which is a problem. He also, I believe, that's so harsh. I can't say that. Maybe no, I can't. I'll keep that one a secret. Anyway, Marquise Noel is waived. Short jokes, RIP. Utah, Lauri Markkanen has a quad injury. Him and Jerami Grant can compare quad notes, and then Jaren Jackson will barge in like the Kool-Aid man and be like, you guys have sore quads too? Wow, what a coincidence. Anyway, Lauri's got a sore quad. He'll miss the game on Monday at least, and I would expect that at least one game out of the next 3 weeks, Markkanen will sit. Walker Kessler is now out 3 straight games. Maybe he's back on the 6th of March. He'll be in and out of lineups. We are getting to the stage where a drop of Walker might be necessary. We're not quite there yet. And then today, the speaker, Keontae George, popped up on the injury report with an illness. I'm not worried about him getting shut down at any point in the next couple of weeks. But if he misses Monday, that ruins this week because they got a shocking schedule. And the only benefit of their schedule was 2 games in the first 3 nights. Now, George has been so good that I wouldn't drop him, but it obviously hurts. With Markkanen out, with Kessler out, it is absolutely going to be time for Big Taylor Hendricks, I think. Now, I was talking about calling him the golf club, and for some idiotic reason, I was like, oh yeah, Hendricks is a golf club brand. No, it's not. It's Taylor. TaylorMade is the golf club brand. What am I talking about? I knew there was a golf connection. Hendricks, you idiot. That's gin. Maybe I had too much of it. Nah, Hendricks, I don't like Hendricks gin. Yeah. How hipster do you want me to sound as I twirl my mustache with wax on it? I only like actually locally sourced craft gins. There's a really nice distillery just down the road. It's actually in Brunswick where they make the greatest. You can see the copper stills in the window and they make the best gin. Mate, I don't want to go for these big mass-produced ones. We're just looking at craft gins. Anyway, what am I talking about? The golf club Taylor Hendricks, big opportunity for him to step up. And yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. Shout out to the Wizards who only have one guy in the injury report. It's Isaiah Livers, and he is out for the season. Wait for them to shenaniganize, though, because Kuzma, Jones, Poole probably at some point, although he helps them lose, will probably appear on that injury report. Did we do it in under 30 minutes, as Bob the Builder would sometimes say? Yes, we did. No, that's not what he says, is it? Anyway, we are done here, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. Dick jokes, short jokes, Bob the Builder jokes, craft gin, hipster wanker jokes. It is all here. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.